Hi everyone, this is Tricia Morris at Club Scrap with the gorgeous Zest for Life Club Scrap Page Kit. This is my first virtual workshop of 2021 and I'm so excited that the new year is finally here. We've got this super happy collection that we can create together. If you don't already, you'll want to locate your really nice guillotine style trimmer. I love this model from Fiskars. I'm using my accordion pocket file organizer. This helps me stay organized while we trim everything for 8 layouts all at once. It's the most efficient way. And I've also printed a copy of my instructions. Now, a lot of my members don't print these. They just use them right from their tablet or their computer screen, but whatever works easiest for you, you just go ahead and do that. Now I've got my January page kit here, and it comes with all kinds of fun and beautiful ribbons, and we've got some other embellishments. So typically what I do is leave these in the bag that the kit came in, because it prevents things from getting misplaced while they're waiting to be used. But I just wanted you to be able to see all the fun things in this kit. We've got a nice stencil in this collection as well. I'll give you some tips on how we're going to use that. And then usually I begin by just sorting through the pre-cut photo mats that are in your page kits and assigning them to the appropriate pockets. So let's begin by finding the orange photo mats. There should be 3 of them, 1, 2, 3. And we'll place these in the pocket designated for layouts 1 and 2. Then let's find the 3 lime colored mats, 1, 2, 3. Those will go in the pocket labeled 3 and 4. And then we need 2 white photo mats going into pocket 5 and 6. And then the remaining white plus 3 of this darker yellow. All of these go in pocket 7 and 8. So those are out of the way. The next thing we'll do is sort our paper. If you've been around for any length of time, this is just an old habit now, but I do like to prevent errors by putting the paper in the order we'll be trimming it, and that way you don't accidentally trim the wrong sheet at the wrong time. Okay, so we're going to start out with one of the lime prints, and this has just the frame with the limes in it, and I'm just going to stack these papers as we sort them face down on my trimmer base. And then dig back a little ways into the pile. You're looking for a light yellow. So there is a dark, I'll show you the comparison. Here's the dark yellow and here's the light yellow. So now grab one light yellow. Then find an orange. It's definitely quite a vibrant, nice citrusy orange. And then one of those dark yellow papers. Next, we'll find the cut apart that has this fun quote in the left corner: "If life gives you lemons, the possibilities are endless." We'll put that face down and then follow that with, this one that has the fun border strips on it. So that'll be face down. Next, we'll find the 2 lime planes. So they are lime on both sides. Put those on your trimmer base, followed by one of the dark yellows that you have left. And then one of those really awesome, I love this print so much. This is the orange print, so we're going to put that face down on the stack. And continuing on with the other lime print, the light yellow plain, the remaining orange print, and then the remaining orange plain. So that is all of the paper that was in my paper pack. Hopefully yours matched that, and we'll get to the trimming process. Now again, I always have people who are new joining us, so if this is your very first time using a trimmer like this, just make sure that the paper is always flush at the very top edge, and before every single cut, stabilize this clear bar while you bring the blade down. Now I'm going to situate this piece into the trimmer so that this larger lime is in the upper left corner, and then this half moon shape is down here. Just kind of give it a once over for orientation. When the orientation of the trimmed paper matters, I will put a picture of the paper embedded into the instructions, which I've done here, so that you can compare there as well. So let's trim this at 8.5. So remember, every vertical column on the trimmer base represents 1/4 of an inch. So this is 8, 8.25, 8.5. That's all there is to it. And then slide down to 5.25. So 5 plus 1 column to the left is 5.25. And we've got this piece that will be placed into pocket 7 and 8. Do that at an angle so you can still see the label on that pocket. The middle section just has these two little pieces on the ends here. We're going to file that in 3 and 4. And then the other highly printed section, that's going to go into pocket 7 and 8. Okay, moving right along to the light yellow. That wasn't so bad, hopefully, if this was your first time. Just a note also for beginners, you can change your settings on YouTube to view this video at a slower pace. Okay, we're going to cut this at 10 3/4. Remember to stabilize each time. And then 9. And then 5 1/2. Now you'll notice I didn't move any of the papers that landed to the right of the trimmer. I just leave them stack up, and that way I know where that paper is and I can help you deal with it piece by piece. All right, let's rotate this largest piece in the trimmer base. We'll cut at 11 1/4, 7 1/2, 3 3/4. All right, now if everything went according to my plan, you just made a set of 3 rectangles that are the same size plus this narrow strip. Everything goes in pocket 7 and 8. And then pick up the next strip. Right now it's 3 1/2 by 12. We'll cut at 9, 6, and 3. 9, 6, 3. Gather up the 4 equal-sized rectangles, and those are going to go in pocket 3 and 4. And then there should just be 2 strips. Both of them go in pocket 3 and 4 also. Now we'll take the orange plane, and we have quite a few cuts we'll make. They're not too bad though. We'll trim one at 11, then 9, and 5 1/2. Rotate that 5 1/2 by 12, and we'll cut at 8 and 4. 8, 4. Okay, so gather up the 3 rectangles that you have here. They should be the same size, and those are going to be used in layout 5 and 6. Then take this next strip. Right now it's 3 1/2 by 12. First cut 10 1/4. Then 8 1/2. And then 4 1/2. Just hang in there with me here. Now this 4 1/2 inch piece, I want you to rotate it so it's vertical, and we'll cut at 3. You just made a rectangle and a skinny piece. Both of these are used in layouts 5 and 6. Then the next piece on the pile is just this bigger rectangle, also 5 and 6. And then you should have 2 narrow pieces that are the same size. We're going to actually trim these into some squares. So we're going to cut at 1 3/4. Again, that's 1 3/4. I cut them at the same time, no problem for the trimmer. 2 of them will go in pocket 5 and 6, and the other will be used on layout 1 and 2. Now I'm going to take the next strip here. This is 2 by 12, and we'll cut it every even number to make a bunch of squares. So that's 10, 8, 6, 4, and 2. 10, 8, 6, 4, and 2. All right, so we have all these squares. Let's take 4 of them. 4 will go in pocket 1 and 2, and the remaining 2 will be placed in pocket 5 and 6. And I have this narrow strip here that goes in 1 and 2 at an angle. And grab the dark yellow. Well, this is a little easier. The orange was definitely the most difficult trimming, but this one we're going to trim at 11 3/4. It's going to give us a very narrow strip. 11 3/4, 11 1/2, 10 1/4, and 6. All the way down to 6. Rotate. I'm going to do a classic move here. I'm going to cut this horizontally at 8 and 4. 8, 4. So take 2 of the rectangles that are the same. Those go in pocket 1 and 2, and the last one goes in 7 and 8. This next strip is 4 1/4 by 12. We'll cut horizontally at 11 1/4, 7 1/2, and 3 3/4. Gather up these 3 rectangles. Those will go in 5 and 6. There is this skinny guy. He is used in 1 and 2. And then for these narrow strips, the widest goes in 5 and 6. One of these skinny guys, 1 and 2, and the other 7 and 8. We've made our way to the cut aparts, and this is relatively new to us at Club Scrap, but you'll notice on the corner of this cut apart that there is a little intersecting registration mark here. That's a cutting guide. So what I want to do is line up this mark as close as I can with the edge of the blade on my trimmer. And sometimes it's just a little hard to see, but do your best to aim for that hash mark right on the edge of the blade. Better to cut off too little than too much, because you can always just fine tune that, but I landed that pretty well. Now I'm going to rotate this one turn and repeat. I'm going to line up that little registration mark. There's one at the bottom as well, and try to line them both with the outer edge of the blade. Rotate again. So I'm basically removing 1/8 of an inch from this perimeter of the cut apart sheet. And the purpose of that is so that we can really begin trimming our cut aparts with an extremely accurately placed 12 by 12. Okay, that looks really good. You will create a set of 4 1/8 inch scraps. Okay, so make sure you place this piece into the trimmer with that yellow border strip on the right. And we're going to begin by trimming at 11, and then 10, 8 3/4, and if you don't feel like measuring, you can still just visually line it up. Then 7 1/4, and 4 1/4. Okay, now rotate this piece so it's horizontal, the smallest piece on the right here, and we'll trim at 9 1/4 and 6 1/4. Okay, let's file the pieces from this strip. So this quote, pocket 3 and 4, and now we have this vertical journaling prompt 7 and 8. The horizontal prompt goes in 5 and 6. Okay, now we're going to take this next strip and we'll just trim at 9, 6, and 3. It doesn't even really matter which direction it goes in the trimmer. It's cut the same either way. 9, 6, and 3. Okay, the slice with journaling 1 and 2. The green lime 3 and 4. We have the orange going in 5 and 6. Now if you happen to have a circle punch, you can go ahead and remove the circular shapes from this cut apart. If you don't have a punch, just simply use a scissors and follow the really soft gray outline that Jacqueline added to the artwork. Okay, so Sweet Life is filed in 1 and 2. Squeeze the Day, 5 and 6. The lemon or orange slice, 3 and 4. And the lime slice, 7 and 8. Moving on, let's take this next strip. We'll put Easy Peasy Lemon Squeezy on the right, and we'll cut it 9 1/4 and 6 1/2. This strip is in pocket 3 and 4, and then the orange tag 5 and 6, and the green tag 3 and 4. Next, we have a few more pieces to separate. These are all going to be equal size, so once again, it'll trim at 9, 6, and 3. 9, 6, 3. Okay, look on the bright side. That's 7 and 8. I could just squeeze you 1 and 2. I love that. This just fruit image 1 and 2, and then you be you, I'll be me. I love that song. That's 7 and 8. Okay, now this orange strip 5 and 6, and then there's a yellow strip going into pocket 3 and 4. One more sheet of cut aparts here. We have to follow that same process. So again, look for the little hash marks, and I'm going to line that up with the blade that I can see. Some of you might even want to do it with a craft knife. I don't know. I just try to get this as accurate as I can. And we'll situate the paper so that this orange border strip is on the right. Our first cut is going to be at 10 1/2. And then 9, 7 1/4, 6 1/2, 5 3/4, and 3 1/2. Okay, this larger strip we'll place in 1 and 2 at an angle so we can still see the pocket numbers. Then this larger lemony strip, 3 and 4. The green lime green border, that's 7 and 8. Oranges, 1 and 2. And then we have this strip here. Pucker up should be on the right. And then we're going to cut these at 10 1/2, 8 3/4, 7, 5 1/4, 3 1/2, 1 3/4. Wow, that was a whole bunch of numbers. Basically, we were trimming these into 1 3/4 inch squares. Those are going to match up with those, I think it was orange. We made a whole bunch of 2 by 2 inch orange squares, so those will nest. And then the last one, pucker up, is a little bit narrower. That's just how it worked out mathematically. So the orange, 1 and 2. This little green leaf, 5 and 6. You're Simply the Zest and this lemon slice. Both of those go in 1 and 2, along with lime feeling good. So all of those 1 and 2. Then you have this lime and then the pucker up. Both of those end up in 5 and 6. And now we have this long journaling prompt with "You are sublime." That's 3 and 4. And we'll finish with this really fun orange border, 1 and 2. So now would be a good time to get rid of all the scraps that you made while you were trimming your papers. Oh, right. There are no scraps to be found in the making of all 8 of these layouts. Isn't that cool? I'll get rid of my trimmer. We're done trimming for now, which is awesome. And I'll turn my instructions to page 4. We'll look at the bottom. And as is our protocol, we will build our layouts from the bottom up. So from 8 to 1. And I'm going to take the remaining stack of papers that we put in order very carefully earlier, and I'm going to place them in front of me. And I'm going to separate them. I'm going to slide the top sheet over to the right so that now the center of my workspace is this gutter between the 2 base pages. This should be the base for 7 and 8. And sure enough, if I look at my layouts here, there I can see that the base papers for 7 and 8 are these 2 green planes. So of course, since we're working with 7 and 8 layouts, I want to empty the pocket for 7 and 8. And when I do that, sometimes it's kind of nice to distribute all of the pieces from the pocket as if you were dealing out some cards. I don't know if you play any card games with your family, but we play cribbage here in Wisconsin, and I like to deal out cards the same way I deal my materials onto my scrapbook pages. All right, cribbage lovers, let's deal some components. On the right edge of this layout, I usually begin with the largest pieces, and I'm going to place this with this big citrus slice down into the lower right corner here. And then just kiss that with this lime strip to create some zones. Then along the left side of this layout, I will take this strip and I just added a touch of the dark yellow right down over here. Now there's going to be some light yellow mats, and I have this kind of puzzled together so they can literally be placed like a film strip almost right into that area. Love how that fit. Now 2 mats that are dark yellow will be horizontally placed on the right side of page 7, and then level at the top edge this white vertical. Hang on. The 2 larger there is a size differential, so make sure that these 2 match in size, and then this smaller one will fit onto the white and the other larger one fits here. So 3 large, 1 small. You'll figure it out. You'll know if it's not quite right. Here I have this narrow strip, and so what I did in this case was just cut a little V into it to make almost like a little banner. So sweet. I think maybe, did I have to make it a little smaller? If you need to shorten it, you can. Just cut a little V right out of this, and you can place that down at the bottom here. And then it gets topped with one of these tags, and Jacqueline cleverly designed these, look on the bright side, that's going to fit right into the space created by the tag. Then the other vertical one, you be you, I'll be me, that also will fit up there next to a journaling prompt. A number of other embellishments are added to this layout, so I'm going to bring in my finished samples and kind of walk through what I did to finish these layouts. Okay, on the right side, I did something a little special in the lower right corner. You can see how this mat sits behind the citrus slice. I'm going to quickly show you how I went about that. But basically, once you figure out where you want your photo mat to sit, you kind of make just a little notation right on the edge where the mat meets the edge of that lime slice. I'm going to do the same over here. Then I'm going to bring in a cutting mat and a craft knife, and with my knife I'm going to hold it like a pen. I'm going to start and just try to have a comfortable position. Looks like I need to be out here though. And I'm going to cut along the outside edge of that lime, starting and ending where I made those pencil marks. There we go. I could have even done the lime leaf. You know, you can do whatever you want. You don't have to do this at all, as a matter of fact. Now, with that slit, I can then add my photo mat to the page and allow this to play into the foreground. Now, something fun that I did with this particular tag is to take a small piece of the ribbon and thread it through the top of the tag like this, and just bring this around to the back. Real pretty, right? And then tape the tails of the ribbon onto the back of the tag. Easy. Then I'm going to take my yellow ribbon, same one I used here, and make 2 bunny ears, 2 loops with it, crisscross the loops, bring the front loop around to the back and through the hole that you made, and then just tie just a standard basic bow. And when I do it this way, it tends to give me what I believe is a nice low profile knot. These are good for mailing as well. Then you can take this and attach it to the top of the tag right below that, just below the hole. And it gives the illusion of you having wrapped completely around this and then tied a bow, which would be really, I don't know, way more challenging than I'm in the mood for. So this sits on here nicely, and then you can go ahead and add this to the tag for a really lovely embellishment in the upper right corner. And the other thing I added on the finished layout are 3 yellow buttons. And I first placed the buttons where I wanted them to be. Then I used a paper piercing tool to pierce holes, 4 holes for each button where I wanted it to sit. And then I took just some wax linen thread and a needle that I had on hand, and I started from the back working to the front and crisscrossing to sew each button onto the page. I must have done this on the green piece before I attached it to this base. But I feel like it's just a really great way to attach the buttons. Now, if you don't happen to have wax linen thread, not a big deal. Just glue the buttons into place or use a glue dot, whatever adhesive you're most comfortable with. And then finally, you can see I just took a black pen, a fine tip pen, and I put a stitch line around that cut apart just for a little extra something sweet on that layout. Now for page 7, I followed through, same exact style with the tag, the stitching. I added it to the banner as well. And then for the final embellishment, you can take your flattened bottle cap. And what I suggest you do is take some of Clip Scrap's bookbinding glue and just add it to the base of the flattened bottle cap and position the lime right in the bottle cap. It's just such a sweet little embellishment. If you want, you could also just add a small amount of bookbinding glue around the perimeter of the bottle cap, just as a tip. And then we do have these really fun epoxy dots So just pop that in. It kind of gives it a nice shiny look, and that can be added to the page as well. Use your favorite adhesive for adhering that to the layout. Now that kind of wraps up pages 7 and 8. So here's the plan that we made is going to come to fruition, where we can just kind of stack and slide our pages around so that we finish with layout number 1 on top. So I want you to grab the green layout base, pick it up, and slide it on top of page 8. And then take one more sheet and slide it. So now we've stacked up our base pages for layouts 5 and 6. Since we're working on 5 and 6, we need all the materials. So let's remove everything from the pocket labeled 5 and 6. Make sure you get everything. There's a lot of little pieces here. Kind of lost track of my little punched out lime earlier, so don't be like me. And I'm going to put them in the palm of my hand again for proper dealing position. Okay, now this is kind of fun. Across the top of the left page, you should have some rectangles that are dark yellow. They should be positioned vertically, and if you do that, they'll fit in a perfect little row across the top of this layout. Then we'll add this light yellow strip beneath it to kind of box them in and top it with this fun little border strip here. 2 vertical orange rectangles will fit below that. And there should be a journaling prompt in there that has a mate. So there's one that's larger. This is the skinnier orange, and you can take that and tuck it kind of behind this mat to fit across the bottom of the layout here. And we have I'll get to these larger pieces here first. On the right side, we're going to take 2 horizontal white mats. I did fussy cut the orange from this cut apart paper. And then we have a wider mat here, the tall mat going there. Now in between, I'm going to add 2 squares. So all of this should really piece together really nicely. And then I can layer my lemon square and this other leaf foliage from the citrus in that spot. This tag will be over here on the right. We have 2 smaller little pieces that will be in the lower left corner of the right layout. And then we have pucker up. We have squeeze the day going into a bottle cap with the resin sticker the same way. And once again, I did my scrap rescue. So this was saved from the circular file. And by simply, once again, adding the little V, my floor is covered with these little V's, into this, it kind of gives the illusion of being a ribbon. And I can just put it right behind this thing. It's the perfectly coordinated ribbon. All right, so let's take a look at these finished layouts. Number 6, finishing touches. The first thing I did, you can see here, I used the stencil that came in this kit along with our white pigment ink. Now, if you don't have our white ink, it's just very opaque. I think it just gave a great look on these little embellishing rectangles here. So the Zest, I added just a little bottom part of this whole slice. I added this piece to this one, and then I took a piece of folded ribbon and stapled it to the square, and then I mounted them onto the page with our foam adhesive circles. You can see the fussy cut orange here, just use scissors. And then I did choose to sew on one of the orange buttons, and Jacqueline had a special plan to be able to fit a button right into the middle of this adorable cut apart tag here. So take advantage of that styling. And then I've also used our tangerine ink to just lightly apply to stencil some of the slices onto the right edge of this page. The other layout, you can see it just basically came together exactly as I showed you. Here's the finished epoxy dot, the little banner, and then this was adhered with foam adhesive circles just to try to add some dimension to the left side to match what was happening on the right side. Along the top edge here, I used my grid ruler to help me make sure that these 3 pieces were level and equally spaced. Moving right along, I'm going to take this orange page, slide it on top of the previous, and now we've got lime on top. I've got a yellow, light yellow on the left, the lime print on the right, and then we're on the bottom of page 3, looking at layouts 3 and 4. And of course, we'll find all of the pieces, hopefully, for layouts 3 and 4 in this pocket. All right, let's deal this First things first, I'm going to add this strip to the left edge of this page. And then, so what that does is carries over what's happening on the right here. I like that. And then we're going to add this lemony strip. This larger cut apart here will be vertical. Two horizontal lime green mats should fit perfectly within the remaining yellow space. And then there's this, this will be a good year. It's going to be a good year, girls and guys. I hope. We're going to trim that out and place it in that spot. On the right, I've got the other vertical, and then we have some mats. So the yellow strip here carries over the color from this page over to the right. And we'll align that with the lemon. And then this will go across the bottom. So this photo mat will fit right in there. Now we have this space to use that. I'm going to take 4 of these yellow rectangles, and they should fit within this space perfectly. Finish off with a lime sliced fussy cut, some lime colored buttons. We've got the easy peasy lemon squeezy with the green button, and then this will be in your bottle cap once again with the epoxy sticker. I just love that. It's so cool. On the finished pages, let's take a look at what we did here. Made just a standard bow, just like the one that I showed you earlier with the 2 bunny ears that get wrapped. And I pulled the same move on this lime print. You can tell I liked it. I wanted it in the foreground. So I put my border strip where I wanted it to be, made my pencil marks, and cut so that I could thread this right through. And you can see the paper on the back where it's running through behind the artwork that was on the base of the page. This was attached with foam adhesive circles, and then the 3 green buttons were sewn on with the waxed linen thread in my stash. On layout 3, I actually added some of that adorable rickrack that, you can't spec rickrack for a kit every time, but, once in a while it's perfect, and I think this is the right month for that. Added the word Zest here to the bottom with my stencil, and I believe I used our leaf ink. Then this will be a good year, trimmed with scissors, just, real easy, and then adhered with foam adhesive, as was this after I'd sewed the button on. Finished with some ribbon going across the bottom of the cut apart, and then the epoxy sticker and cut apart in the flattened bottle cap. All right, we're almost to the finish line. I'm going to slide this yellow, light yellow, over to the right, and then slide, and now we should have the base of our plan for layouts 1 and 2. I'm almost finished with my entire folio of trimmed and prepared pieces. And again, if you can do it, this is definitely the easiest way to distribute all the trimmed pieces. If you're picking them up off the table, I've just seen it happen. It happens to me. This is the quickest, easiest way. I did a little of stenciling on this page, but I'm going to show you the placement of all the components before I give you those tips. So across the top we have the larger strip, and then across the bottom we have our tangerine border here, and then you can top that other side with the dark yellow, just a tiny little strip. Now vertically here, in between the upper and lower strips, we have to make room for these dark yellow mats. I'm going to fussy cut this. It's just so cute. I'll add a tag along with, there should be a corresponding cut apart here. This one goes on top of that. Bottle cap goes over there as well with Sweet Life. Just build a little collage. Then on the right side, I've got 2 horizontal orange mats. Then you can vertically place the dark orange strip and mat it with the cute little orange border. A vertical mat, and then above and below it you can place, and it should fit really nice, a nice grid pattern, the 2-inch orange squares. And then you can add the cut-aparts that will nest right on top. And it's designer's choice, of course. I'll place them the way I had mine. Oh, guess what I did with this little guy? I cut a little V into him. Now I've got a flag on which I can add one of these tags, and the I could just squeeze you cut apart. Over here at the top is a little spot for my two little orange rectangles. They might be squares. Those will go there. Nice. In my original plan, I had actually put this vertically on the left because I didn't want two horizontals side by side. But then unfortunately I put this layout away while I was adhering this one, and they got positioned both horizontally across the page. So if I could do it over again, I would put this vertically in the upper left corner, and that's just me. So if you follow that and you want to give that a whirl, you go for it. So now here is my finished page. I did a couple of cool things. I took this satiny, silky orange ribbon. It's not satin, it's a silk. And I made a small loop and just attached it to the back of that cut apart and adhered it to the orange square with foam adhesive. Here, I sewed the button to the page, right to that little banner that I made. You can see the threads on the back. And then I tied my ribbon to the top of the tag here and attached this with foam adhesive. I did some stenciling on page 1, and I just love how it turned out. But first of all, I added 3 buttons, and I was very conscientious about sewing them literally to the edge of the photo mat so that I can still take a picture and slide it under here without the thread getting in the way. So just keep that in mind. Tied some ribbon here. I ran the rickrack across the bottom and shoved that kind of behind the mat along with the Sweet Life. Now again, this I kind of wanted it to be up here, but I ended up stenciling the fruit slices onto this dark orange paper with white pigment ink, and just gives it a really nice look there. So I'll just quickly show you the basics of how I achieved that look. Now, as I mentioned before, we have the white pigment ink, and then we also have these ink applicators. So I'll just kind of trash my plan here on this layout to give you an idea of how this works. So you will load your brush with the white pigment ink just by tapping gently onto the pad. And then you can take your choice of image and place it where you want it to live. And basically I like to do this in a circular motion. The white pigment ink applies just a little bit differently than the dye ink. Just circular motions, and you'll be surprised at how little ink it takes for this to actually appear on the page. I'll just carefully lift that, and there I have a nice slice. So if you wanted to add a leaf, you would again go back and you can reload as many times as needed. Again, I'm tapping onto this pigment pad, whereas if it was a dye-based ink pad, I'd probably rub it a little bit more, but this I'm just tapping to pick it up. And I protect my work surface with one of our desk blotters, our graph paper, which I use for all kinds of things, mostly when I'm stamping, to add some cushion to my work surface, but also to protect it. And there I have a nice leaf. So that's how the stencil works. I did it the same way when I used the word Zest on that other layout as well. You just kind of can change the ink color, but these applicator brushes really work well for applying the ink to the stencils. Okay, your last and final tip of the day might be a review for many of you, but it's called the stick and flip. This is a great way to reload your bag. So let's just say you take it this far when you're in a quiet, private space where you can concentrate and follow along. And then let's say you plan to finish these pages when you can be maybe with your girlfriends or your family. Take the empty bag with the sticky side flap at the top, and then the sticky side facing your work surface, and then stick it literally to the surface. Then flip the bottom of the bag up, pick up all your finished pages ready for adhering, and slide it right into the bag. Now I know everything slits to the bottom, but it's okay because you'll have your instructions right in the bag, along with all the ribbons that are ready to go. You can put those in. And your embellishments, your stencil, and everything you have is right there and ready to go. Then when you get to your crop, for example, let's just say you're saving these for a crop, all you do is sit down in your chair, you've got a basket full of photographs, you've got your adhesive and all your basic things, a journaling pen, and adhere everything down, add your pictures, and you have completed 8 pages in no time at all. And yep, my friends, here are your scraps. all we had left were just these little triangular shapes, 2 of which landed on the floor. I want to wish you a very happy 2021. I hope it's one of the best years yet. It's going to be a great one, and it's going to be a very creative one. Just hang out with me, and we'll see you right back here again next month. Thank you so much for taking this workshop. I hope you learned a lot.